He betrayed the woman who stood by him for 15 years. She walked away without a word. But when he saw her 2 years later, happy in another man's arms, something inside him shattered. What happened next will leave you speechless. Stay till the end to witness a powerful journey of regret, redemption, and second chances. Before we begin this story, make sure to subscribe and click the bell icon so you never miss our powerful, life-changing content. If you find value in these stories, like the video and share the channel with others. This is more than just entertainment. Every story we tell carries a meaningful moral lesson designed to inspire, uplift, and transform. After 15 years of marriage betrayal, she walked away quietly. 2 years later, her ex-husband came begging. I remember the sound of her footsteps the morning she left. Soft, almost ghost-like. No screaming. No shattered plates. Just silence and a note. Take care of yourself, Michael. I am done trying. 15 years. 15 years of loyalty. Of her carrying my emotional weight while I chased dreams. Of her packing my suits, ironing my shirts, raising our children. While I attended galas with women I called just business. I betrayed her 1,000 ways. Not always physically, but emotionally, neglectfully, cruelly. She caught me once. Text messages, pictures, a dinner bill paid for someone who was not her. She did not slap me. She did not cry. She just stood there, her eyes full of something I could not name at the time. I called it indifference, but it was grief. A woman grieving the death of the man she once believed in. 2 weeks later, she packed only what was hers. And walked out. With no alimony. No fight for the house. Just the kids. I told myself she would be back. That she had nowhere to go. That she needed me. But 2 years passed. And I never saw her again. Until one rainy afternoon. I stood at the window of a charity gala I had sponsored, watching people flood into the hall. And then, I saw her. She stepped out of a black car, wearing a modest dress, hair pulled back, nothing flashy. But her presence stopped time. She was with a man. A boy held her hand. A girl clung to her other side. Our kids. But the man was not me. He held the umbrella over them all. Looked at her like she was the rarest thing in the world. Like he saw her, heard her, loved her. I felt a strange heat crawl into my chest. Not jealousy, but shame, regret. I had everything. Mansions, supercars, stock portfolios. Yet I had never looked at her that way. Not once. And there she was, glowing in someone else's world. Later that evening, I approached her. I tried to sound casual, but my voice trembled. You look happy, Eliza. She turned slowly, studied me. I am Michael. Truly. Her smile was kind, but distant. I wanted to tell her I missed her, that I never stopped thinking about her. That I was a better man now, lonelier, wiser. But she did not ask. She did not open the door. She excused herself as politely as a stranger would, and walked away. And that night, for the first time in years, I wept. Not because I had lost her, but because I realized she had finally found herself. I sat in the back of my limousine that night. Rain tracing crooked lines across the tinted glass. My reflection stared at me. Expensive suit, polished shoes, empty eyes. I thought of the woman she had become. Not bitter. Not vengeful. Just free. And I thought of the man she stood beside. How he held their son's backpack. How he kissed her knuckles when no one was watching. The kind of love that asked for nothing, but gave everything. I had been rich for a long time, but sitting there, in silence, I realized I had never been wealthy. Because wealth, real wealth, is peace. It is family. It is respect. It is showing up for someone, even when no one applauds you for it. The next morning, I opened a drawer I had not touched in over a year. Inside was the last photo we took as a family. She had her arm around me, the kids laughing in her lap. And I was looking at my phone. That single image haunted me more than anything else. Because in it, I saw the man I had been. The man who thought success was louder than love. That ambition mattered more than presence. I started changing. Not for her. Not even for the hope of getting her back. But for me. Because for once, I wanted to become the man she thought I was. Before I destroyed the version of me that lived in her heart. I sold one of the vacation houses. The one in the Alps we never visited. I used the money to fund a scholarship. In her name. The Eliza Grant Foundation. For single mothers returning to school. It made headlines. People called me generous. But it was not about redemption. It was about remembering. Remembering the nights she stayed up while I traveled. The meals she made when I said I was too tired to talk. The patience she gave, even when I was undeserving. Months passed. Then a year. And one day, as I left the shelter where I now volunteered on Sundays, I saw her again. Alone this time. No kids. No partner. She was holding a book. And when our eyes met, she smiled. A soft, curious smile. Not full of warmth, but not cold either. I walked toward her. No pride. No agenda. Hi, Eliza. Her voice was quiet. Hi, Michael. We stood there for a long moment. Not as lovers. Not even as old friends. Just two people. Who once shared a lifetime. I hesitated, then reached into my coat, and handed her the photo I had kept all this time. I look at this every morning, I said, not because I miss the past, but because I want to remember what I should have protected. She stared at it. Her eyes glistened, but she said nothing. And then, for the first time in years, she asked me a question. Would you like to join me for coffee? My breath caught. Not because it meant hope, but because it meant forgiveness. I nodded. And as we walked side by side toward the cafe on the corner, neither of us spoke. We did not need to. Because healing begins in the silence that follows truth. The cafe was quiet. Warm. A soft jazz melody floated in the background, like the hum of a memory you could almost touch. We chose a table by the window, the same kind she used to sit by during Sunday mornings, reading, while I slept off another flight. She stirred her tea slowly. No rush. No nerves. And I watched her. Really watched her. The fine lines near her eyes told stories. Of sleepless nights. Of tears cried in silence. Of strength earned without applause. She had aged. Gracefully. Beautifully. I searched for the right words. But the truth was, I did not come to speak. I came to listen. How have you been? I asked. Carefully. She smiled faintly. Better. Lighter. Less afraid to take up space. I nodded. Because I knew what that meant. I had spent years making her feel small, while I tried to make myself feel big. Do the kids talk about me? I asked, my voice quieter than I expected. She looked out the window for a moment, then back at me. They do. More than you think. But they are guarded. Not angry, just cautious.
That word stung, but it was fair.
I do not expect anything, I said. I just want to earn back pieces of what I broke.
She sipped her tea.
Set the cup down gently. Elijah wrote you a letter.
My heart skipped. I sat up straighter. Really? She reached into her bag, pulled out a folded paper.
Worn at the edges.
Carefully preserved.
I took it from her hands like it was made of glass. My son's handwriting stared back at me.
Dear Dad,
I do not hate you. But I do not know you either. Mom says people can change if they really want to. So if you are trying, I hope you do not stop. Maybe one day, we can play catch again. But for now, I am just watching. Please make it worth watching.
Love. Elijah. I read the letter twice. Then a third time. Each word, a mix of hope and distance. Affection and fear.
I blinked away the tears before they fell. I want to be someone he can be proud of, I whispered.
She looked at me.
Eyes soft but strong. Then start by showing up. Not as the man who wants to be forgiven, but as the man who is finally ready to give.
I nodded.
Every part of me aching.
But awake.
We sat in silence after that.
Not awkward. Not empty. But whole.
Like something had been unspoken for too long. And now, it could finally breathe.
She checked her watch.
I have to pick up Mia from ballet. I stood as she stood. We lingered at the door.
Not quite ready to part.
But not pretending either. Thank you, Eliza, I said.
For today.
For the letter. For not slamming the door.
She smiled.
Just enough to light something in my chest.
Good night, Michael.
And with that, she walked into the evening. Rain still falling. But softer now. As I stood there, letter clutched in hand, I knew this was not the end. Not the beginning either. But something fragile. Something sacred.
A second chance.
If I was willing to fight for it. That night, I laid the letter on my desk. Right beside the photo. 2 artifacts. One of what I had lost. The other of what I still might earn. I stared at both under the amber glow of the desk lamp. My world had once been built on deals, deadlines, and digits. But in that quiet moment, all that mattered was a boy's hope.
And a woman's grace. I did not sleep much.
But for the first time in years, I did not drink to fall asleep. I did not scroll through hollow messages. I just sat with my guilt. Let it wash over me. Let it shape me. The next morning, I was waiting outside Elijah's school gates.
I did not call. I did not text. I just waited. Minutes passed. Then I saw him. Tall for his age.
Wearing his backpack a little crooked.
A quiet strength in his eyes.
He stopped when he saw me. His friends kept walking.
He stood still.
I raised a hand. Nervous. Trembling. Hey, buddy. He said nothing. Just blinked. Then slowly, carefully, he walked up. His eyes flicked to my hands.
Empty. No gifts, he asked.
I shook my head.
No. Not this time. Only time.
And if you let me, some consistency. He tilted his head. Just like I used to when I was trying to understand someone.
What do you want? He asked.
I swallowed. To know who you are now. To earn the chance to be in your life. Even if it takes a long time. Even if it is only 5 minutes a week.
He was quiet. Then, to my surprise,
he sat down on the bench behind us.
I followed. Carefully. No sudden moves.
I like soccer, he said.
I smiled.
You always did. Even as a toddler.
He glanced at me.
Eyes searching.
Testing.
I am striker now. Is that so?
Bet you are fast. He shrugged.
But I saw the flicker of pride.
It was small. But it was there.
Mom says people change, he said. But only if they hurt enough to want to.
I nodded slowly. She is right. And then,
like the turning of a tide, he handed me his water bottle.
Open this?
The cap stuck.
I took it, twisted gently. Click. He drank, then looked at me again.
You can walk me home if you want.
I exhaled.
A breath I had been holding for years.
Yeah.
I'd like that very much.
We walked in silence.
Side by side. Two shadows slowly realigning under the fading afternoon light. No loud promises.
No rehearsed speeches. Just presence. And in that presence,
a seed of something real. The walk to his home felt longer than it was. Not because of the distance, but because every step carried the weight of years lost. Elijah kicked small stones along the sidewalk. His silence was not hostile.
It was cautious,
measured. At one corner he asked, "Do you still live in that big house?"
I shook my head. No. I sold it.
He raised his eyebrows.
Why? I hesitated. Then told the truth.
Because it was full of things.
But empty of life.
I needed to start over. He seemed to think about that. Then asked softly, "Do you regret it?"
My throat tightened. Not the house.
But I regret the moments I traded for it.
We walked further.
He slowed as we reached the street where his mother lived. The front yard was alive with flowers. The curtains glowed with warm light.
A place that looked lived in, loved in. At the gate he paused.
Looked at me with a seriousness far beyond his years.
You cannot come in.
Mom will not like it if you just show up.
I nodded. I understand. This is your space. Your home.
He studied me for a moment longer. Then reached into his backpack.
Pulled out a folded paper.
This is my practice schedule. We have a game Saturday. I took it carefully, as if it were gold.
Because to me, it was. Thank you, I whispered. I will be there. Not to interrupt. Just to watch. To cheer.
A flicker of a smile crossed his face. Do not be late. And with that, he walked through the gate. The door closed behind him. I stood outside, holding the schedule in my hand. My heart pounding like I was 20 again. I had been in boardrooms worth billions. But nothing felt as high stakes. As earning the trust of my own son. The night was cool as I walked back alone. But inside me, something long frozen, had begun to thaw. This was not forgiveness yet. Not reconciliation. But it was the first brick. In a bridge I was willing to build. No matter how long it took. And for the first time in years, I believed, truly believed, that I could become the man they both deserved to see. The months that followed were slow, uneven at times, but full of quiet victories. I showed up to every soccer game, sometimes sitting alone in the last row, sometimes helping with water bottles, sometimes just clapping like the proudest man on earth. Elijah no longer looked for me in the crowd. He expected me there. And that meant everything. One afternoon, after practice, he ran up grinning. Coach says I have leadership in me. I knelt to his level, looking him in the eye. That is because you have strength.
Not the loud kind. The real kind.
The kind that forgives, even when it hurts.
He smiled. Then, without warning, he hugged me. And in that embrace,
15 years of failure did not disappear, but they were finally seen,
acknowledged, and slowly healed. A few weeks later,
Eliza invited me inside. It was not romantic. It was not a return to what we had.
It was something deeper.
She offered me coffee at the same table
where we once planned our life.
But now, we spoke as equals, not as husband and wife,
but as two people
who had grown through fire and survived it. I apologized to her again, not for her forgiveness.
She had already found peace, but for myself.
Because owning your failure is not about rewriting the past. It is about making room
for a better future. She reached across the table,
touched my hand gently,
and said,
"You became the man I always knew was in you, just not in time for us." There were tears in my eyes, but they were not from sorrow.
They were from understanding and gratitude. Today, we co-parent.
We communicate with kindness. We support our children together. And though we live in different homes, we share the same foundation:
respect, growth,
and the quiet dignity of second chances. Moral of the story: sometimes, life does not give you a second shot at love, but it always gives you a chance to become better. Never wait for a storm to pass before you decide to change, because by the time the skies clear, those you love may have already learned to dance in the rain without you. But if you are lucky, if you are truly willing, you may find that redemption lives not in returning to the past, but in rebuilding something honest in its place. This was not just a story about loss. It was about growth,
accountability,
forgiveness, and the quiet, powerful journey
of becoming whole.
Thank you for listening to this story on Twisting Tales. If it touched your heart, please share it, leave a comment below, and remind someone today: you are never alone.